Welcome to the deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
You've sent us some really interesting stuff for this deep dive.
Yeah, it should be a good one.
Articles, transcripts, all about Ripple and XRP and how it could completely change, like global finance.
Right, like Swift level disruption.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you want to understand what this could all mean for the future of money, like how we actually move money around the world.
Makes sense. It's a pretty big deal if it all plays out the way some people think it will.
Okay, so let's dive in.
That's good.
I think a good place to start is, well, you've got Swift, right? This massive system that moves trillions of dollars every single day for international payments. But everybody knows it's kind of slow and it can be really expensive.
Yeah, definitely.
Then you've got Ripple coming in saying, we can do what Swift does, but we can do it faster and cheaper by using XRP on their RippleNet platform.
Right, it's a really interesting idea, and it's been gaining some serious traction.
Okay, so let's break this down a little bit for our listener who might be hearing all this for the first time. Like, what is the actual difference between Ripple and XRP?
So think of it this way. Swift is like the network, and the banks are the ones using it.
Okay.
Ripple wants to be the new network. That's RippleNet. And XRP is like the fuel, the
Right.
thing that makes it all work, smoothly and instantly.
Got it. So you've been doing a ton of research on this. What really caught your eye in all of this?
Well, one of the most interesting things I came across
Yeah.
was an article about the potential for XRP to hit like $100, maybe even $1,000 per XRP.
$1,000. Okay, now that's a headline grabber. But before we get into those kinds of numbers,
Right.
what would actually have to happen? Like, realistically, for XRP to even get close to that kind of value?
Well, a lot of these articles are banking on XRP being able to take a big bite out of Swift's market share, like seriously cut into their business
Okay, and just to remind everyone, we're talking about a system that's processing something like $5 trillion.
every single day.
Every single day. Hold on, I need my calculator for this one. Okay, so even capturing, like, let's just say 5% of that.
Right, just a sliver.
That's $250 billion
Wow.
every single day. No wonder people are throwing around those crazy predictions.
Exactly. But here's the thing, and it's a big but. Capturing even a tiny fraction of that market, it's a massive uphill battle.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
First of all, you got the technical side of things.
Right, because it's got to work.
The XRP ledger has to be able to handle that kind of volume like flawlessly every single day. Because if there's a glitch, if things slow down when you're talking about moving billions, trillions of dollars,
Forget about it.
you're going to scare off any bank or financial institution.
100%. They're not going to risk it. Reliability is everything in finance.
Absolutely. And then on top of that, you've got the regulatory hurdles,
Ah, yeah.
particularly in the U.S., where the SEC has been, well, let's just say interested in Ripple and XRP for a while now.
Oh, yeah, the SEC lawsuit. We can't talk about Ripple without talking about that whole thing. And you sent over a ton of stuff on this, so let's break it down.
Okay.
For people who haven't been following every single twist and turn, can you give us, like, the quick recap?
Okay, so in a nutshell, back in 2020, the SEC sued Ripple. Their argument was that Ripple was selling what's called unregistered securities when they were selling XRP,
Okay.
especially those early sales to big investors.
Yeah.
Basically, they were saying XRP itself was a security, which Ripple was adamant that it wasn't.
And the SEC doesn't mess around with this stuff, right? Like, what were the stakes if they won?
Oh, they were serious.
Yeah.
Like really serious. They were going after Ripple for something like $2 billion.
$2 billion.
Yeah.
Okay, talk about high stakes. So how did Ripple respond to that?
They decided to fight back, which a lot of people thought was a pretty ballsy move.
I know a lot of these crypto companies just seem to settle with the SEC, right?
They do. They kind of want to avoid the fight. But Ripple was different. They felt strongly that XRP wasn't a security and that this case had huge implications beyond just them.
So this wasn't just about Ripple anymore. It was about setting a precedent for, like, how crypto is going to be treated in the U.S.
Exactly. And a lot of people in the crypto world were really nervous because they saw this as a make or break moment.
If the SEC won, it could have really stifled innovation, right? Like,
Yeah.
scared everyone away from building anything in the crypto space in the U.S.
Potentially, yeah. Everyone was watching this case very, very closely.
Okay, so we have this huge legal battle, potentially massive implications for the entire industry. And meanwhile, Ripple's over here trying to convince the entire financial world that XRP is the future of payments. So what happened? Did the SEC get their $2 billion?
Well, it's been a roller coaster. And honestly, it's still ongoing, believe it or not. But that first big ruling
Yeah.
back in July of 2023.
I remember that. It was huge news.
Yeah. That decision sent shockwaves through the whole crypto world.
Give us the rundown. What did the judge decide?
So it was Judge Annalisa Torres, and she basically said, yeah, when Ripple sold XRP directly to those big institutions,
Right.
that was them selling unregistered securities. But, and this is the big but, when people were buying and selling XRP on exchanges,
Yeah.
just regular trading,
Right.
she said that didn't count as securities.
So it was like a split decision, kind of?
Exactly.
So what did that actually mean for Ripple? Did they still have to pay that huge fine?
They did end up having to pay a fine, but it was way less than what the SEC originally wanted.
Okay.
It was $125 million.
Still a lot of money.
Oh, yeah. Definitely not chump change. But for Ripple, the real win was that ruling on the exchanges.
Because it kind of poked a hole in the SEC's whole argument.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it made it much harder for them to argue that XRP itself was a security.
Okay, so it sounds like a pretty big win for Ripple, but you said this whole thing was still ongoing. What's going on now?
Yeah, it's crazy, right? It's been over a year since that decision, and both sides are still fighting.
Oh, what?
The SEC is appealing that part of the ruling, the part about the exchanges. They're saying Judge Torres got it wrong.
It does seem like the SEC is really fixated on making an example out of Ripple. I wonder if it's because they're worried about what it'll mean for their control over the crypto space if Ripple actually wins this thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say for sure what's going on behind the scenes, but it definitely feels like this case is about a lot more than just XRP.
Wow, it's about who gets to call the shots in this whole new world of crypto.
Exactly.
Which, let's be honest, doesn't always fit neatly into those old financial regulations.
Nope, not at all.
So while all this legal stuff is dragging on, what does it mean for, our listener who is at home? Maybe they're following this case. Maybe they're thinking about buying some XRP. What should they be thinking about?
Honestly, the most important thing for anyone who's interested in XRP, or really any cryptocurrency, is to, do their research. Don't just jump in without understanding the risks.
Because the crypto market is volatile. Things can change so fast.
Oh, yeah. And this lawsuit could have a huge impact on the price of XRP.
Up or down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, uncertainty is the name of the game right now.
For sure. Okay, so putting aside all the legal drama for a second, let's talk about whether XRP can actually compete with Swift. Like we talked about those massive transaction volumes they handle. Is Ripple even close to being able to actually do that? What are they doing on the tech side?
Well, they've been developing this thing called on-demand liquidity, ODL.
Okay.
And it basically uses XRP to allow for much faster and cheaper cross-border payments.
Okay, so less like waiting days for a wire transfer to go through, more like
Instant.
sending a text message.
Exactly.
That's a game changer if they can pull it off.
Yeah. And the really cool thing about it is that banks don't have to hold a bunch of different currencies in reserve.
Which is a huge deal, right? Because right now, that's how they have to do it.
It's a pain and it's expensive. But with ODL, they can use XRP to bridge the gap between currencies almost instantly.
Okay, that makes sense. So how close are they to actually making this a reality? Is this something that's actually being used right now? Or is it still just like a cool idea on paper?
It's already happening. Ripple has partnered with a bunch of financial institutions all over the world, and they're using ODL right now.
Wow, that's impressive. So it's not just talk, they're actually moving money globally with this.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got ODL gaining traction, but you mentioned earlier that Ripple is also making moves in the digital asset custody market. What's their strategy there? Is this like a backup plan in case the whole XRP thing doesn't work out?
It's not so much a backup plan as, well, remember how we were talking about a future where a lot of the global economy is tokenized?
Right, like real estate, stocks, even art, all on the blockchain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So someone needs to hold those assets securely.
Oh, I see where you're going with this. They're positioning themselves to be the ones who do that.
Exactly. They're building the platform that banks and institutions can use to manage all these new tokenized assets.
And that's a market that's projected to be worth. How much was it?
Some estimates say it could hit $16 trillion by 2030.
16 trillion with a T.
Yep. So even if they capture a small piece of that,
It's a pretty good payday.
you could say that again. So it's not just about XRP being used for payments. It's about them being at the center of this whole new financial system.
Right. They're betting that traditional finance and blockchain technology are going to be completely intertwined.
Exactly. And that's where this all circles back to XRP. If their vision pans out, if we start seeing tokenized assets everywhere, and this huge need for fast and efficient settlement.
XRP is right there, ready to go.
Exactly.
Okay, so a lot to unpack here. We've got Ripple pushing for XRP adoption with ODL. They're positioning themselves in the digital asset custody space.
Right.
But this SEC lawsuit is still hanging over everything.
It's the big question mark for sure.
Right, like that could really change things.
Absolutely. I mean, the appeals process could go on for a while.
Who knows how long, right?
Nobody does. But when that final ruling comes down, it's going to be a big deal.
Huge.
Not just for XRP, but for crypto in general, at least here in the U.S.
Right, because right now it does kind of feel like we're all just, like, playing in the dark. We don't even know what the rules are.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's the legal side of things. But beyond the lawsuit, what else should people be watching to see if this whole Ripple and XRP thing is really gonna, like, take off?
Well, I think it's really important to look at what Ripple is actually doing.
Mm.
You know,
Mm.
are they getting more financial institutions using RippleNet?
Okay, so like actual adoption, not just talking about it.
Exactly.
Mm.
Because it's one thing to have a cool idea. It's another thing to actually get banks to use it. And it can't just be a few small players either.
Yeah.
You know, to really make a difference, they need to get those big financial institutions on board.
The ones who are still using Swift, right? The ones who they need to convince to switch.
Right. The heavy hitters.
So more partnerships, that's one thing to watch. What else? What are some other signs that this is more than just hype?
Look at what's happening on the XRP Ledger itself. The transaction volume. Is it growing consistently? Because that's what really matters in the end.
Right.
Real-world usage, not just people buying and selling, hoping to get rich quick.
Because there's always hype in crypto, but at the end of the day, it comes down to, like, what can you actually do with it?
100%. And that's actually why I find that whole custody thing so interesting.
You mean Ripple going after the custody market?
Yeah. Because if tokenization really does blow up like some people think it will, they could be in a really good spot.
It's like they're playing in a different game than everyone else. They're not just thinking about the next year or two. They're thinking 10 years, 20 years down the line.
Exactly. And, you know, whether you're rooting for XRP or not, you got to admit.
It's ambitious.
Totally.
Mm.
The vision they're painting is huge. If it even comes close to happening, it would completely change everything about how money moves around the world.
Yeah, it's a bold vision, for sure. Maybe they pull it off. Maybe it all falls apart. Who knows? That's crypto.
Right? That's what makes it so exciting. It's like the Wild West out there.
We're living in a crazy time. Technology is changing everything so fast, and the financial world is right at the center of it.
I know. It's
Yeah.
going to be fascinating to see how it all plays out.
Absolutely. And, we'll be here to break it all down for you right here on The Deep Dive.
Sounds like a plan.
Thanks for coming on and talking about all this with me. It's been really interesting.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
For sure. And for everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the wild world of XRP, Ripple, and the future of global finance. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep asking those big questions.